Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at Learn Grow Invest.
Okay, hope everyone is doing well. This is becoming a dangerous habit, so I think I'm gonna nip it in the bud after today. So, but we'll see how it goes. But I have a series of videos that I have in mind to do about TransJamaica, and this is one of them. And so I'm going to do hopefully 2 more. We'll see how it goes over the weekend, but yeah. So I wanted to talk about the fact that the government, as you know, decided to sell their shares in TransJamaica, and I wanted to talk about the stock price because since this announcement was made, we've seen a movement in the price go downwards, and I'm wondering a few things that kind of came to mind to me. And so I wanted to share them with you all and kind of test it out, right? Because you guys know more than me, or collectively figure that you may see something that I don't see. And so we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to share my screen and we will cover multiple things tonight. So it's not just, this is a night for all your questions, right? About any company that you have, and we'll go through multiple things and see where it goes, right? But we'll start with TransJamaica. So we'll do that. Hey Julian, am I on a roll? I don't know. We'll see. But let's start with TransJamaica. And yeah, Sean, we'll be talking about multiple companies tonight. This is provided my son doesn't wake up. So we'll see. All right, so TransJamaica has been trading. So when was the JC conference? I want to trace from when the first notice kind of came out about it, right? So let me see, NROC selling shares in TransJamaica. All right, this was when, okay, January 24th, right? So let's see what it says, right? So this is kind of the article that started it all, right? And so let's see what it says. So the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, in his keynote address at the 20th Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference hosted by the JSC, gave a strong boost to the financial markets from the onset to the conference. In his disclosure that the government will be divesting its shares in TransJamaica, the government will soon be divesting 20% holding in TransJamaica held through the National Road Operating and Construction Company Limited, and this will be undertaken by a public offer for sale. That's something that the capital markets can look forward to, and we know how this goes, right? So this was mentioned, this was released on the 24th. So let's see where we were on the 24th of January. We were at $4.23. And now, as at today, we're at $3.73, right? So the month to date, or I guess quarter to date, is what we can look at as well. And so the truth is, it actually has not fallen much. But if you consider where it was before, like November, December, $4.98, it is a fair amount down, right? So that kind of started it all. Of course, there are speculations. When is it coming? XYZ. I was wrong about that. So I'll say that openly. I thought they would drag their feet with it. I thought they would be talking about this like we talk about, you know, other things like shorting on the JSE and things like that, right? Or what else? There are some other things we've been talking about for a while. So I thought this was one of them, right? But we've seen after the offer for sale came out, which was on Tuesday night, and I hope you guys see this as well that I saw. So we saw we're traded $390 on the day the offer for sale came out, and it went down to $371 and kind of stayed there. So I thought that was interesting because it almost seems like the price is being held up. Now I have my speculations here. I'm not going to say much about it in this forum. Maybe I'll share it with the challenge community tomorrow, but I have my thoughts as to what this could be, right? And how long I think it may last. Because we've seen this before. This is not new, right? But you know, it went down slightly. I remember the stream that I did on Tuesday when the offer came out. But what I'm concerned with here, right? And the reason why I asked the question is the government selling their shares good for the stock price. So before we get to the stock price, I wanted to say one thing, because I say somebody made a comment that I thought reasonable to address, right? So I don't address all comments all times. It kind of depends on what is being said. But the person, I'm going to try and find their comment here, right? So bear with me. So stop sharing for a second, find the comment, because I think the person didn't quite understand what I was trying to say. And so just bear with me a minute here. Okay. Why are 32 people waiting for me to go live earlier? Seriously? Okay. Okay. So, okay. Let me zoom in here. So this is a comment from Robert Kennedy. And Robert, if you're here, thanks for this comment, right? So Robert says, I'm not sure why you would do that. It is a good thing you are not in government, right? The purpose of the government is to use capital to take care of its citizens, not hold private assets. There is an opportunity cost for the government to hold on to this asset rather than invest in social services or improve infrastructure to better the outcomes of people, right? So I'm just going to share some thoughts on this before I get into the topic, because it's related to the last video about TransJamaica, all right? So this is what I say to Robert, right? So Robert, I'm not in government. There's probably a reason. I'd probably run the country more like a business. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. But the way that I see it is this, right? The government, if they have assets, because remember, the government's shares, their 2.5 billion shares, is generating cash for them every year. What you're not seeing here, Robert, and I think the point Robert is missing, you have 2.5 billion shares of something that's generating 450 million in cash for you every year. So it's like that question we see on social media. Would you take $1 million upfront or $10,000 every month for the next, 20 years? It's like one of those questions, right? So what Robert is saying, Robert would take, saying that the government should take its $9 billion upfront instead of 450 million every year and potentially growing for the foreseeable future. And I think Robert's perspective here is a bit short term, right? Because the government, if they're able to get in $450 million every year, they can do a lot with that consistently over time, versus 9 billion now that I'm not sure what that 9 billion would be invested in, right? Because if you're thinking like an investor, you own the asset and you're getting cash flow, that's win-win. But if you sell the asset and you get cash up front and you don't reinvest that capital, eventually that money will go, right? You may set up something. It depends on what you do to get that back. Sean is saying 20 years to get back that 9 billion. Not necessarily, because the dividend will also increase over time, right? So it's 450 million now, but there's also, for example, if the government holds it maybe a couple of years, maybe it's worth a lot more than 9 billion as well, right? So because they held it for 5 years and it went up 300% in value, right? So if they held it longer, it would be valued more. So maybe in 5 years' time, it's not 9 billion, it's 30 billion, right? You don't know that, and you'd be getting the 450 million in cash every year, which can do a whole lot, right? So that was my perspective in terms of saying that I'm not sure that that's necessarily the best thing, because it feels like a short-term kind of thinking for me, only because I don't know what they're doing with it. If they said to me, well, we're going to use this money to do something specific, that is another form of investment or another form of thing that helps to put in, infrastructure, etc., fine. But I don't know what it will be used for. That has not been disclosed. So I just wanted to address that. I thought it necessary to do so. So let's talk about, why we're here, right? Yeah. So hopefully you guys get what I was saying there. Okay, so let's talk about this in terms of what I think it's good for the stock price, right? So I would say that there's a couple of things that can happen here. Now, there are a few thought processes there are kind of a few ways in which this can work out. And one of the ways I'm thinking of it is this. So I think I'm trying not to give away too much here, right? But I think that if we have the 9 billion shares, the 2.5 billion shares being sold, which opens on March 4th, by the way, and we've seen the promotion start. I saw an ad today from NCB Capital Markets about it. I'm sure, Kalila will be doing coverage, and, I think I saw Simon from Socks and Rock saying he's going to be doing something as well. I don't think we'll be doing anything. Nobody has reached out to us for that, but you'll hear more things to come out over the next few days. But it's a pretty straightforward offer. Nothing about the company has changed. A shareholder is selling shares. Now the concern is potential oversupply to meet demand, and I'm using the word oversupply very loosely here because TransJamaica is one of the most liquid stocks on the market, right? So you're seeing, I think that one of the lowest days trading is probably like 890,000, which is still good volume considering. But there's a lot of shares outstanding, 12.5 billion shares outstanding. And so that's why I'm happy no new shares are being created, because that 12.5 billion is a lot to begin with, right? And so it's already very liquid based on what you're seeing here, right? The volumes traded every day. I don't think there's anybody, if you had 10 million units in TransJamaica you wanted to sell, you could clear it in a week quite easily, right? Depending on the time amount you put it up. That may potentially change, right? Because we're going from maybe this current level of liquidity in terms of volume to maybe more, right? Maybe a lot more. So even if we have, so I think they showed that about 3 out of the 9 billion is going to strategic investors. I'm assuming other institutions may take up the offer as well that maybe are not part of the strategic pool. But there's still a good amount of shares that may go into the hands of John Brown. And my concern is that John Brown may not be a long-term investor. And what I mean by that is John Brown may be a little impatient with the growth of his stock, right? So John Brown may buy it for 360, and then John Brown can't wait. So John Brown may, well, I guess it's good for John Brown. If John Brown sells in the short term, then that's good. That's good for me and you, actually, right? So if that's the case, I think that oversupply may, for example, lead to not necessarily any growth in the short term for the stock price because of that kind of adjustment to supply, right? That's one of the first considerations that I have. Am I necessarily worried about that long term? I don't know. I really have to say what happens here, because in one sense, to me, the persons who wanted to own TransJamaica for a while now probably already own it, meaning there are persons who may be knowing how to trade it. And there are ways that you can trade it, by the way, that I won't get into now. But if you look at, there are certain patterns that the stock has. And we go over those patterns in our challenge community. But if you look, you'll see them, right? So that's the first big thing, right? The next thing that I'm thinking about is what will happen to the price in terms of, well, what happens in terms of do I want to say that? All right, never mind that. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully here, right? But one sec, let me see. I think somebody's sending me a message here. What are you saying ding ding to, Lavine? Did I say something or was somebody else? Sean is saying, didn't TransJamaica say they're going to do a share buyback? Don't you think they'd exercise that no more than ever? It depends, because here's the thing. At the time that, and I remember specifically this question was asked by Ivan, and he said at the time that the stock, they believe, was trading at a reasonable value, and so a buyback wasn't necessarily interesting. Now, if it remains depressed for a while, then they may choose to execute this, but we don't know when they will do something like this, right? So that's the thing to be concerned about here. We don't know when they will do that, if any, and it's going to take a certain amount of capital to buy back shares, and I don't know if I'd want my dividends compromised, sir. So let's see. Orville, asking if I don't think the institutions are going to gobble up these and hold. So that's actually the next thing that I was going to get into, Orville. So I do think this is an opportunity for certain funds to rebalance and get, because I figure the institutions are looking at the higher dividend yielding stocks, because they're not necessarily investing for capital gains. They want income to be able to pay out, whether it's a pension or other things, right? So I'm assuming that most pension funds or institutions are looking for income. And so that is a consideration as well, Orville. But I don't know how much, and I do have a little nuance to this one as well, that I'm looking to see. Sullivan said, growth in the prices are concerned for me given more units become available. Yes. So there's that, right? Let me see. Well, there's no. I'm reading some of the comments from earlier. You guys are something else. So Kimar is saying, if you buy the N-Rock shares, will it be transferred to the TransJamaica shares, or will it be two different shares in my portfolio? Kimar, you ask a great question, and this type of question, I think, helps me to see that some persons don't really understand what's happening here. So if you don't mind, Kimar, I'm going to use it as an example here. It's an existing shareholder. So if you had 2.5 billion units, Kimar, you could do an offer for sale, right? If you have a certain amount of volume, you can do an offer for sale to the public, right? It really just depends on how much you have. Now, me with my 10,000 shares could not do an offer for sale. Nobody would be interested in 10,000 shares. But if I had 100 million shares, I could do an offer for sale. If I had 50 million shares, I could do an offer for sale. So it's not two different shares. You're not going to see N-Rock TransJamaica shares and then TransJamaica shares. It doesn't work that way. It's existing shares, sir. So, and I saw persons were answering. Natalia saying, why am I here before the hosts? Because it's 7:12 p.m. My usual time is 10:30. I'm kidding. I did oversleep, actually. I woke up at 8 o'clock, and I didn't want to come on stream, actually, as debating whether or not I should watch some basketball, because Steph Curry had a great night last night. So, yeah. So Diplomat says, you make money while you sleep, but we aren't able to do that yet, so we... Okay. All right. I'm not going to pay any attention to any other comments before we start here. All right. Okay. So, Levine, it's a dividend stock. Why are you worried about price? Well, so Sean, you and I need to have a conversation, because Sean has been ragging on Dolphin Cove, and I'm not sure how much of a friend Sean is right now. Sean is not being cool. So Levine says, possible oversupply in an environment where so many IPOs are looming. Okay, this is the third thing that I want to say. I feel like Levine and I are thinking similar here, because there are a couple of offers coming to market soon. So I'm just, so here's what I'm thinking here. And I'm wondering if the current price of TransJamaica will hold at this 370. If, let's say, now I don't know this to be true, but let's say while we're waiting for this offer to close, another offer is announced, right? And another IPO comes out, another preference share comes out, another bond comes out, an APO comes out, right? I'm really wondering if the price will actually hold there, because it may, again, we have people now that are going to have an abundance of supply and are going to maybe say, well, I don't think I can wait, because again, maybe they're not seeing cap gains and they're just going to chase the next thing, right? So Sean is saying, if the company's fundamentals are good and they keep paying dividends, why worry? But Sean, how are you saying this? And you're saying what you're also saying about Dolphin Cove. So Dolphin Cove's fundamentals aren't good, sir? Dolphin Cove, we're not talking about Dolphin Discovery. Dolphin Cove's fundamentals? Interesting, Sean. Interesting, Sean, right? It may still pay good dividends, and I will gladly accept them. We'll talk about TransJamaica dividends another video, all right? So I decided to go ahead and take the plunge. If all goes well, I'll have 100,000 shares. My average price will be lowered, and I'll just leave it for the dividends. Starlink, you're cool. You're cool. Gavin is saying, what are the possible factors that would send the price shooting up again, and what's the chances of these things happening? Well, that's why we're talking about it here, Gavin, because so TransJamaica is a stock that I've been looking for dividends and capital gains from for a while. And I'm wondering now if I may need to be looking at it as only a dividend stock and no longer a capital gain stock, right? Imran is saying Williams Feeling Commission gonna shoot the price up. Okay. I see what you're saying there. Okay. All right, so cool. I think that's it for TransJamaica. I've given you my 3 points. And so let's look at something else, right? We're gonna talk about another company. So what I'll try to do, I've never done this before. I'm gonna try and split up these videos, all right? So I'm gonna officially end this one. Stay on the stream, guys. I'm not gonna leave, but I'm gonna end this one, play the intro, and then go to another one and then just kind of crop it afterwards, if that makes sense. So let me do that now, and then we get into the other one.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at Learn, Grow, Invest.
So today, I want to talk about RPL, right? One of my stocks to watch from last year, if you remember. And, you know, their audited numbers came out yesterday, I believe. And I was so happy to see it. And, you know, so let's look at those numbers. Let's look at how they did. And let's talk about them for a little bit, right? So this is the RPL section. Don't ask me about Dolphin Cove, Sean. Don't ask me about Dolphin Cove. Anybody else? We're going to talk about RPL, right? If you have RPL related questions or FESCO related questions, because they're in the same industry, no problem. All right. So let's look at the audited financials. Well, actually, I want to see what the top 10 shareholding looks like, right? Let's see here. All right, Andrew Williams still has his 80%. That's good to see. GK Investments, I think that's, I don't remember how much they had, but they're number 2. These names look familiar to me. I don't remember if I saw Solid Life. Jerry Grant is still there. Okay, so the top 10 is mostly the same. Top 10 is 94%. That's actually interesting. It's about 100 million shares. I'm gonna have to reconsider RPL for this other thing that I'm watching at. It may actually stay on my watch list a lot longer here. Never noticed that. Okay, so let's go straight to the numbers for them, right? So we know that they had the new well, listen, I've literally asked the CEO if he could sell me some of his shares for RPL. I have asked him that before. I don't think he took me seriously, but if he was willing to sell me like 50% of his shares, I'd definitely take it for sure. But I try specifically not to show up in any top 10 for obvious reasons, because when I think about being in a top 10, I think about it a couple of ways. If I'm in the top 10 and some of you know, you'll be happy, you'll buy the stock, you know, hey Jermaine, if you believe in this company, so do I, and you buy, then there are some persons who may see me in the top 10 and I think try to sabotage the stock price, which is actually a great concern that I have. So I try not to make my name show up in any top 10. And I mean, how do you guys know I have the capital for that anyway, right? I may not. So that's that. All right. So they did 1.6 billion in revenues for 2024, and they did 928 million for 2023. And I wanted to actually see how that compared to their previous year, because 2022 when they listed, I want to see how much they did in 2022. All right, so revenue for 2022 was 682 million, right? So from 682 to 928, so that's almost 50% growth right there. And then to 1.63 billion, which is almost 100% growth, maybe 80-90% growth. That's massive. That's massive, right? And this is what I was saying that a junior market company should do. They should be growing, right? A junior market company should be growing at an above average rate. That's what they're there for, right? So the expenses, Sean, will grow. So in this case, their admin expenses doubled. Their revenue almost doubled, their admin expenses almost doubled. But you have to understand that it takes a lot of people to run a gas station, right? You have the attendants, you have the convenience store, you have the different persons who have to be served, you have persons who are going to deliver the fuel, you have different persons along that value chain, right? But that is something to watch for sure. Finance costs grew as well because we know they took the 100 million from GK to finish the Spanish Town location, which is now finished, by the way. And no taxation for the first 5 years, we know that. So 86 million, so again, that's almost double. So Sean, even though their expenses went up, they almost double their profits, right? So their EPS doubled. So, and I think because they're not gonna have, and they had significant infrastructure costs to be able to set up the gas station in the first place, right? So I want you to see that, and those costs may not be there going forward, right? So I don't think all of this is like salaries and stuff. Let me see if they have a breakdown for it for note 4. So depreciation was 39 mil. You have no idea, Loving. Trust me, the growth potential is definitely there because so staff cost is 42 million. Electricity is 6 million. Security, wow, I didn't know security would cost so much, but that makes sense, right? And insurance, love to see this insurance, hoping that's exactly, Loving. So some of these costs will not be recurring for sure. And I think they usually have the works in progress in their reports. I need to check that out as well. Advertising and promotion slightly increased. So yeah. So where is it at 3 million? Yeah. So Sean is saying 3 million for meetings. So so what I'm thinking, this is, there are different things. So this meeting could be AGM, Sean, could be AGM costs. It's not cheap for a company to design a location, feed people who register for the AGM and stuff like that, right? And there are persons who specifically go to the AGM just for the food as well. And the hotel food not cheap, right? So that's actually on the lower end for some of the AGMs I've seen. Directors' fees actually went down. That's interesting to see. Expected credit loss, that one is interesting as well. I don't know if that's we can ask them about that at the AGM, I'm sure. Repairs and maintenance. So I'm expecting this line item may go up due to their recent incident. So we may see that go up for this year. Depreciation, I think, may continue to be a high number based on the fact that they have more infrastructure now. All right. Audit fees, you can't get away from that. Okay, so yeah, so the major jumps are security, the expected credit loss, the electricity, and the staff costs. Those are the main contributors to the higher cost, right? All right, but very, very happy with the performance of RPL. Very happy. I think in my Q3 stocks to watch for last year, I said I was waiting for them to finish that gas station because it was expected that they would finish it in Q4, which they did. And so I'm sure some of the Q4 revenue is here, but not all of it, because I think they officially launched in December. So what you're seeing in this report is just a couple of weeks, maybe a month, not a full quarter. So the Q1 for this year, I think, will be really amazing as well, just from what is expected for them, right? And we saw them go up as high as 355. So that's awesome growth in a couple of years. All right. So any questions for RPL? So Jermaine, to be honest, if they did not communicate to the shareholders like they did in that incident, their price would most likely be lower. This is effective for prepare. For sure. And that's one of the things I like about them. Now they have chosen to use our platform for most of their communication. So I'm mindful that there's no bias there, but they've really taken steps. I think they've been communicating better on their social media. Andrew is always open to an interview. They've just been, I believe, very committed to communicating, right? They've done every single earnings call. They've never missed an earnings call, and so on, right? Sean, what do you mean they're not taking expenses seriously? Explain, please. Legal fees will grow. There's a level of risk that you take on in that industry. Different things may come up at different times. So I think you guys should look for some of the more established companies, what some of their expenses are. And we will see, I think the level of expenses we'll see for like a company like West Indies Petroleum will likely shock you. But because they probably generate a lot more revenue, it probably won't seem as major. But yeah, it does add up for sure. All right, I think that's it. Do I move on to another company here? Which company do you guys want me to go through next? Let me know. So RPL is still on my watch list. Okay, it makes sense to go through FESCO as well. So yeah, I'll do that as well. Makes sense too. All right. 997 for travel and accommodation. So again, remember, as a board, you have to meet, and we don't know where the board members are coming from. So it's very likely that so I think they meet 4 times per year. So divide that by 4, Sean. And I think they have 5 or 6 board members. So if you have 5 board members and you divide that by 4, that's like 250,000 per meeting. That's, again, look at it in perspective. So a part of what goes into this part is what leads to the growth on the business part. So that's how I look at it. Yeah, it seems only fitting to go through FESCO for sure. When did 1GS annual report come out? Today? Did I miss it? All right, so I'll check my news feed and see. So Harold said, board can meet virtually now and cut costs. But here's the thing. You also have to appreciate the type of company that RPL is. They are traditional in a few ways. I'm guessing the tech side is maybe one of the ways as well. But I'm not sure. This is me speculating. I don't know. That's a great question to ask them at their next earnings call or AGM. But yeah, that's, again, just based on what I've seen for some other companies. I've seen companies spend, like, I've seen some really big AGMs, like 100 people maybe, a lot of food, a lot of booths, a lot of just, I've seen a lot of things go into just one thing. Whoa, hold on one sec. Are you telling me Regency and RPL are trading at the same price, or did JC not update it? JC, like, does this sometimes. Can somebody confirm FESCO's price? Because are they the same price now? Let me check another. They are trading at the same price? Wow, very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. This is very interesting. FESCO and RPL are trading at the same price. That's a video. That's a video. All right. Okay, cool. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Okay, so let's check out FESCO's report here. I think they are at third quarter. Okay, so their financial year is different. And by the way, before I look at FESCO, so why would RPL drop tomorrow? I'm trying to figure out that logic. Why? Because they're now trading at the same price. They're two different companies at two different stages of growth, and I think that's the thing, that so the end of month spike won't apply to FESCO as well. You don't think so? All right, so this is FESCO for the financial year ended March 31st. So this is their Q3. So I think you guys need to appreciate that FESCO is what, at their 22nd location. RPL is at their 3rd or 4th. So it's two different, it's the same industry, but two different stages. And Harold, but here's the thing, and this is why Harold, I wish you were in the challenge. I can't answer this question, but it's not surprising to me at all. It's actually not surprising. In fact, I was expecting it, but that's all I'll say for now. Okay, so let's look at FESCO's report, executive summary. We're pleased to report that the company was able to achieve a gross profit of 422 million, operating profit of 152, and earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation and amortization of 217 million, and a net profit of 87 million in just 9 months, right? Company is able to achieve 97% of its audited 12-month financials. and so on. Okay, let's see. The company was able to achieve its main targets for the quarter: secure construction and secure financing for FESCO Oval, the company's second company-owned, company-operated service station, and advance its development, refinance and close out its partially secured $700 million bond. That was a big deal. I saw that. Congratulations to them. And ultimately consolidate and extend debt maturities at 9%. Acquire additional LPG and industrial storage assets. That's key. Increase brand awareness for FESGas, FYC Water, Futron, and Futroil. Increase sales company-wide measured in liters of fuel. Support community initiatives. So here's the thing. I absolutely love FESCO's commitment to community, to building up the areas in which they operate. Really do love that about the company. Sponsorship of motorsport and entertainment events, right? So I'm not taking anything away from RPL there as well, because they do, for their size, they do contribute to a lot of initiatives as well. So it's really good to see. I think both CEOs clearly have a love for people, a love for community. They're both generous, not stingy like some people who don't want to spend anything on meetings. I won't call any names, but they're clearly their culture as a company is very giving, right? So that's good to see. All right, let me go straight to the good stuff, right? So they're audited. What am I looking for? Okay, so their full year 2024, they did 28 billion in sales, right? That's massive. So gross profit was 1.3 billion. Operating profit was 594 million. Profit before tax 439, and net profit for the period was 410 million. So, as I said, completely different stage from a RPL in terms of size of the company, etc. And these are their other stats here, right? So this is for, okay, some restated financials there. I'm looking for an outlook for them. Okay, I look ahead. All right, they continue to monitor economic and political factors. Companies selective in its allocation, but mindful of opportunities for growth. Final company, this doesn't tell me anything, FESCO. This is very general, but okay. And I think this top 10 has been, relatively the same. I love the fact that Jeremy Barnes has 95 million shares. So he's very, very invested in the growth of the company as well. I don't think I recognize this name, but I'll double check. All right. Okay. So very interesting, though. Very interesting. Trying to say FESCO's entire net profit is the same as RPL's revenue. Is that the case? No, sir. But look who showed up in terms of what? Am I missing something here? Oh, you are just turning up, Natalia. You did you fall asleep? Maybe you're not, turning on your notifications. Hope everybody took note of the revenues in just 3 quarters year to date, and they're still in growth mode, and they're still growing, wondering how the dividend's gonna look shortly. For who? Thanks, Tavares, because I'm not seeing the connection that he's trying to make. I don't agree with that. So, Jermaine, I am banking on folks selling off to participate in IPO so I can get some of these shares on the low. Okay. All the best with that. No comment to add to that. Look at both numbers carefully, guys. I don't think you're seeing what you should be seeing. So you're not seeing correctly, is what I would say to you. All right. That's all I'll say for now. But I'm not surprised that they're trading at the same. And I have my thoughts as to if and when that may change. But RPL certainly has more growth. FESCO has more growth as well. And so we will see. So Natalia says, you've been waiting since 7 p.m. My YouTube live says 7 p.m. You sure? You sure? You sure about that? Check it. Check it again. All right. So a company, I can take two more companies. Well, one more company. So I'll take your comments here. Actually, I'm not saying that. I don't think any of them are, well, I think both are still undervalued, actually. I think both are undervalued, which is why to me I'm not surprised. I think both are still undervalued, is what I would say. One, yes. Okay, what else? I think there's a company that you guys aren't mentioning that I would love to talk about, but you're not asking for it. I can't cover it unless you ask for it. Let me check in the community group here. Interesting. I just got an interesting question. So let me say this for everybody who's here. If you're joining for the first time, you can join our community group. I'm going to share the link in the chat right now. You're more than welcome to join us. I feel like having a live stream over there any day now. So LGI community, I'm going to share that link for you. It's not Mailpack, certainly not Dolphin Cove, not Wigton. I don't think Wigton is going anywhere anytime soon. Image Plus. Exact. You know, Tavares, you see, are you sure you're a beginner? Because I saw on one stream, Tavares, he said you are a beginner. I'm not sure you are, you know. All right, you sound like you know what you're talking about. All right. Elite. Oh wow. You say Elite. I couldn't think of a company there. Levine, what does that tell you? Tanisha, we have the challenge call tomorrow. I can talk about tropical then. Indies. Indies. No, not Indies. Indies is interesting to me, by the way. I think that'll be a very slow growth. I don't agree with you here. Don't agree with you. I think the writing was on the wall for them. No, not Dollar Financial, not Lassen. SGJ, no, I don't want to talk about the financial industry. Kingston Wharves. You guys aren't saying the company. The company, okay, let me let me guys keep guessing. I'll give you another 2 minutes to get the company. And then I will do one more. So I'm gonna play one more ad, and then I'm gonna bring up the company on the screen, and then we'll talk about it. You guys aren't getting it at all. Not seeing any. I do like Kingston Wharves though, Harold. They are a stock to watch for me, aren't they? Yes. They're a stock to watch for me for sure. Innovative Energy. So Innovative Energy I had in my portfolio last year, but I sold actually. I'm no longer a shareholder. JFP, not JFP, Fontana. We just covered RPL, events photography. L.E.A.R.N, Wigton is not even like, maybe it's top 100 on my watch list. There we go, Tanisha. I feel like you're getting it. So let's look at Lombard in a minute.
Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at Learn, Grow, Invest.
All right, so let's look at Lombard Depot. And I think you all know why I'm looking at this company. So there are a couple of companies that came up on my radar this week because of a certain IPO. And it's just making me want to look at these companies just a little bit more closely to see what's potentially happening. But let me just address one comment from the previous video. At Tavares, I really think this is a calculation that I think persons need to do, right? I think when you're analyzing company, you have to analyze them in the right way. And so that's the last thing I'll say, right? But let's look at, due to the request of Tanisha, we're going to look at Lombard Depot, okay? So I think everybody knows the story of Lombard. So I have not seriously looked at Lombard in many years, actually, since I certainly got shares of Lombard when I was a Blue Power shareholder many years ago. That was fun. That was from a different time, though. All right. So let's look at how they've been trading. So they're up 8% year to date, 8% quarter to date. In the last 12 months, they've traded between $2 and $3. So those who bought at $2, they're up 50% in a year. That's actually not bad, right? Some interesting has happened in the queue over the last 3 months. You're talking for Lombard? You mean this trade right here? I mean, 6 million units is not a lot of units. Are you talking for Lombard, Harold? Let me know. And so let's look at their last report. And by the way, I feel like we'll be having a lot of these streams this year. Just a little expectation that I have, because there'll be a lot to talk about this year. So prepare to have some late nights on this channel here, right? So board of directors pleased to share the results for their 6 months. Lombard Depot generated profits of 86 million of revenues, 86 million profits on 762 million in revenues. Their gross profit margin increased marginally, but faced 2% reduction in revenues and 0.6% in profits. As a result of their efficiency measures, they delivered strong profitability, with earnings growing to 545 million compared to 453. Importantly, the business continues to be positively cash generative and earned cash from operations of over 79 million. That number is actually important, right? That cash flow from operations being positive and growing is a good sign for a company. The company was able to achieve these positive results despite the challenges for Hurricane Beryl and its adverse impact on the construction sector. In addition, the construction sector experienced supply chain challenges for critical construction inputs, and it's also affected their sales. there's so much there that I just saw, but I won't get into that for now. Lombard Depot operates a full-service hardware store in Papine that serves the needs of large and small-scale building contractors as well as homeowners doing construction projects, renovations, and repairs. The Lombard Depot business has been in operation for over 20 years, and during this time has established a market-leading position in the communities they serve directly and a strong reputation for excellent service and good value across the wider corporate area. Okay. So what I would be doing is looking at the value proposition or the market that Lombard serves compared to the market that Atlantic serves. Let me see. Our strategy for Lombard Depot also involves business expansion and acquisition opportunities. With the onboarding of our acquisition of 35% interest in Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing, we are participating at the shareholder level in the wholesaling and distribution of hardware, building materials, plumbing, electrical tools, so on and so forth across Jamaica. We expect this enterprise to contribute to our overall profitability in the years ahead. Our share of this income in this associated company is included in the financials for the quarter and the year to date. That is, yeah, that's pretty much it. So looking forward, we will continue to judiciously manage our cash and inventory levels with a view to improving shareholder returns and continuing paying dividends, right? That's the word, right? Moreover, our board and management are completely committed to placing the business in a strong financial and management position to boldly seize the expansion and acquisition opportunities that we expect to become available to the stronger participants in the Jamaican construction and hardware sector as economic conditions improve. I thank our board, management, and staff for their effective work in successfully managing through a challenging business environment and deliver strong results. And I think this name should look familiar to you all. So there's so much to get from that, by the way, that I hope you saw what I saw there. Okay, 6 months, where we're looking at. I'm just looking at the 6 months here. So revenues are slightly down, they mentioned that already. Gross profit margin actually went up. Administrative costs up 17 million. Share of profit income. Okay, yeah, I'm assuming that this is Atlantic here. All right. Net profit, finance income, net profit for the period is 6 million, pretty much, as I said, went down slightly. Earnings per share, but okay, so I think for the week they've been trading a little, but again, we don't know if this is month end, right? So it's always kind of curious for me to look at the stock price for month end. I'm not sure that will last, but we'll see. So Lombard, I think, is interesting going forward, as we'll be able to now have another. It's always good when you have a company to compare to. But as I said, there are benefits of not being able to do that. Shakira is asking, did I already talk about One Great Studio? No, and that's because I'm hopefully going to have an interview coming up soon with them. So I want to do the interview first, and then I'll have the context that I need, because I still have some questions that I don't want to talk about them because I'll be speculating a lot. And then so I want to get the question answered first, and then I'll cover the company. Best move was paying off the debt for the Papine location and then recently investing in Atlantic. Yeah, for sure. And the visibility that they have now of both companies, I think, is interesting. So combined, I think they will be very, very strategic in the space. And I think they've said a lot in that outlook that I just read. So I hope everybody saw that as well. It's not significant. Sean, so, Tavares, I don't think he gets what you're pointing out. I know they both seem like small numbers, but that is actually a significant difference. One is 300% more than the other, sir. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so this is where I'll take some general questions now, because this is like the last. Let me see if there are any questions on IG. Okay, all right, so no questions there. All right, so I think I've answered all the questions. I think everybody's good. Atlantic is still open. I think they opened yesterday. I think they're still open. I think they will close. I mean, they will close. The offer is fully underwritten, so I'm not worried about that. They will raise the capital that they're looking for, and I think it will be interesting to see the first few days of trading for Atlantic. I think next week will be interesting for TransJamaica's stock price, and I can't share this yet, Sean, because I have some intentions, and I don't want to say anything yet. I don't want to say anything yet. Okay. All right, so this is where I leave you all. Hopefully everyone has a great weekend, and I will be looking forward to seeing you all in our community group. So be sure to join. Oh yeah, so Sean, I did speak with Ivan, and so we were talking about what would happen with the dividend. And so we were discussing as a challenge community what could possibly happen here. But then I just read a question again. That's not what you're asking. So they did have 31 million US in profits for last year. So it's very, I think they can increase the dividend if they want, but they also have to pay for Williams Field. So they may be focusing their cash on paying for Williams Field, but the dividend will either increase this year or next year. So we'll wait to see what comes of that, right? So that's what I'd say in terms of prediction, and we will leave it there for now. All right, everyone. I will see you again very soon. I'm certain of it.
Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest.